Good evening everyone, welcome back to Tom Plays EU4 for Absolute Beginners. We are back with England and we have a lot to do. First things first though, completely forgot to seize land. We're above 50%, so we should be able to do it with impunity, and that's the button for seize land. So it's a little inconvenient because we're probably about to start a war, but it's worth it. Okay, so gives us a bit more land. Right, so colonising. Assuming we're not about to lose all of our ships. So our closest area is Greenland, probably. This is the closest bit that's inhabitable. And generally speaking, you're looking at the send button. And if you can't send the colonist, then it usually tells you why. In fact, let's just check that, because that's often going to be how things go. I can send the colonist here. Oh, okay, that's new. That's very new. Right. Okay, so apparently there's nowhere I can't send the colonist. So normally if you couldn't send the colonist, it would basically talk about your colonial range, which needs to be greater than the distance to the colony. I'm questioning now if there's any alternative way to get that information, but I'm really not sure there is. So that's different actually. I was not expecting to be able to colonise down here, which is perhaps more valuable. I'm thinking we should probably go for it. Okay, so the colonists won't arrive immediately. There are a couple of other little things worth being aware of. Most places have natives and they have a measure for aggressiveness and ferocity. Basically, aggressiveness is how likely they are to have a uprising, which is what the colonial army's for, and the ferocity is how bad the uprising is going to be. You're also generally going to have to decide how to treat the native population when you start, and in general you want to be horrible, which is unfortunate, but that is kind of how you play the game. So yeah, normally we would definitely be doing Greenland because it would be the first place we'd be able to reach. I can't actually recall ever playing as England and starting colonising down here, but there are reasons why it's a more useful place to start. Even though there are advantages to Greenland, I think honestly it would be better off with Bermuda given the option, if we can discover it. Okay, brilliant. So we are back to fighting Brittany. So same tactic I was going to use last time. We're going to leave Brittany themselves to France. Looks like our ships have all made it back, which is brilliant. So hopefully, once the colony starts, we can send the army over and we will be on our way. It will also cost us, I think, 3 ducats per month if we have maximum colonial maintenance, but that isn't a problem, as you can see. So brilliant. So in an ideal world, Castile would not get involved. In an ideal world. It does make me wonder whether it's worth trying to make a claim on Castile. They've been our allies up to now, but it would appear that that time has kind of ended. If they're going to defend Brittany, I don't suppose Munster is friendly with Brittany, are they? No, apparently not. Might be worth getting our colonial army out of the way before we attack Castile, because they do have a navy of their own. But yeah, the navy shouldn't be a huge problem. We can fight all of this on land, and hopefully we can deal with Scotland while France deals with Brittany and Castile, or at least holds them at bay. And then we'll bring our armies down. Our navy should still be more powerful than Castile's, so should all be fine. Okay, brilliant. So I suppose the first thing would be to wait for our colonists to arrive. No more manpower is welcome, because we still haven't recovered from the war on Brittany. We should have quite a bit of time before we need to attack Brittany. If you remember, we have a... oh, here we go. If you remember, we have like this subjugation casus belli, because we've got a... what's the word? Mission from the Diet. Agenda. That's the one. But we have to do it by 1514, so we've got 10 years. Is that right? No, 1524. No, that's also wrong. No, that is right. 1524. Cool. So we've got 20 years. Right, so here are the three options we get when we first start colonising somewhere with natives. It's worth bearing that in mind, actually. Some islands, like Bermuda in fact, don't have natives, so you don't need the colonial army, and you don't have to deal with the crushing sense of you're repeating the mistakes of history, but nonetheless. So speaking of, the best option as far as I can tell is erase these savages from Demerara. This one is to do with trading, and this one is to do with trying to be peaceful. But I think I tried these in the past and I was wondering why I was colonising so much slower than everyone else, so these days I usually go straight for this one. You can change it, but I never do. I just tend to go for that. Okay, so actually the colonists arrived before our ships were fixed, but they're almost fixed. So the other two options make you less likely to have uprisings, but it's still possible. So you still need the colonial army that can deal with uprisings, so the fact that they happen less often is honestly useless. So hence we go for the worst one. Okay, brilliant. So I'm basically taking a risk on being able to get all the way down there and at least have some of the army survive. So our next question is there any chance of Castile going to war with someone and being unwilling to help Brittany? Probably not, but while we think about it, let's not Liege, Brabant, make claims on Brabant. Realistically, there's no point waiting for Castile not to join in. Could wait until we have a claim on Castile though. It might be worth having. This is actually not too bad. The nice thing about this is we only have to go one way, of course. Our ships can now park here. So this could actually really help, because one of my main concerns was not getting to Cuba in time. I call them the West Indies. So not just Cuba. Sorry to everyone who lives around there. There's like Jamaica, there's lots of other places in this area, but it's the best place for trade. So ideally we want at least a presence there. In fact, we want a presence everywhere. So basically the tactic for both England and France, because they're so powerful as nations, is that although we don't start very early or in a good position for the New World, if we can get at least a presence in every colonial area, we can then start bullying Castile and Portugal, and in England's case France, if we hadn't already taken them over, to basically hand over their colonial holdings. So it actually works out really well, because they basically do the hard work for us. They do the colonising, and we then attack them and force them to hand over their colonies. So we're basically not being very nice. But then, to be fair, neither are they. That is history for you. Okay, so actually our colonial maintenance is only 2 and a bit ducats. Fair enough, I got that wrong. So we do have room for a decent diplomatic person. Still, we can't get a cheaper one. But our improved relations person is manageable, I think. We're still hoping to get this treasury of 2,000 ducats. So once the colonist is there, they start building the colony. What we can do is actually, if money's a problem, which it hopefully wouldn't be for England, we can actually reduce this. And the colony won't build as fast, but you do need to keep an eye on the new settlers' chance and spread and things like that, because you can get to the point where the number of settlers starts going down and the colony can actually die. So you do need to balance that, but because it can be quite expensive, because we're expecting to ultimately have 4 of these going at once, so that'll be 8 and a bit ducats. It's also, if you go above your number of colonists, the cost skyrockets. It goes up exponentially, a bit like going above your force limit over here. It gets very expensive if you go above your arbitrarily defined limit, which at the moment for us is just 1, but you'll sometimes, we probably won't do that intentionally, although you could, to speed things up. We're going to use our money to speed up in another way, which we will get to, but for now I'm just going to stick within the bounds. But you sometimes get situations where the settlers themselves will voluntarily just go off and colonise another area, and while you can try and tell them not to, I usually don't, in which case we may go above our limit. There's advantages to not doing, because they tend to be quite enthusiastic. So we can actually do some exploring from here now. So the first place we want to discover is this area. Yeah, so we're already in a little bit of conflict with Portugal, which is fine. Portugal have embraced the colonialism institution. So this is the one bit in the game where Castile and Portugal tend to get ahead of everyone else technologically, because the rest of the world takes forever to get colonialism. Here we are. I'm just going to click on this. Carribean, that's what we call it. Or Caribbean if you're in the US, I think. We seem to have a different emphasis. Yes, we've had an uprising. Pretty standard. You can pretty much ignore them. The colonial army should be enough to put them down. Throughout the rest of the game, right. We still don't want this, I don't think. If we get behind enough, like we are with these, I might consider picking up more administrative ideas, because it's more cost effective when you've got a massive penalty. But at the moment, we don't have one for administrative stuff. So that's fine. So yeah, it's the Caribbean. So it looks like actually we're not as far behind as I'd feared. There's only Castile who's actually started. I know Portugal tends to have a bias towards discovering Brazil. But yes, so if we just look at the trade, so that map was the colonial and trade regions map, which you don't always start with. I don't know if we did cover this, but when I started playing, at least, you started with just these 4 maps, and the rest you had to add yourself. So you just click on a blank one, add another map, and there are a number which are useful, but probably the ones I've got, to be fair, at least for England. But yeah, colonial and trade regions just shows you where the colonial regions are. These are important because in some of these areas, once we get 5 provinces or more, they will form into their own country, which will be subject to us and hopefully remain so. But in order to do that, you have to have the 5 provinces within the same colonial area. So in an ideal world, we will get 5 at least in every area, preferably 10, because if you get up to 10 in one of these self-governing colonial regions, you get a free merchant, which can make you very, very rich. But the main concern for England and France, if you're playing as France, is to just get 1. It just gives us an excuse to take more. It's the only reason we need it. However, this particular area is very important because of trade. Basically, most trade from the Americas goes through the Caribbean, and we want to be directing that trade, and the actual trade node is here, so we would like to get these areas. Now, in order to get them, we would need a conquistador, which we were looking to getting, because this area itself, a few other areas, are themselves terra incognita, so we cannot send a colonist to them. I can't even click on them, whereas this area I can. In fact, actually, you can see the colonial range thing here, because we can't reach this area yet. We will be able to once we finish colonising here, because our colonial range will then be measured from here instead, at least temporarily. So yeah, this is usually our problem as England. It's too far away from Cornwall, which is our closest unblockaded core province. And our current colonial range is 325. That will increase with our diplomatic technology, and it will also increase with our exploration ideas. And we can also increase it by having the right advisor. Some of these have colonial range. But anyway, that is all good. We have another claim on Burgundy. I'm not sure we can make claims on anyone but Brabant now. So we make a claim on Antwerp. We may as well stop spying on Burgundy. I mean, we could to cause some other problems, but they're not even our rival now. So we're going to have to make Aragon our rival. Everyone else likes us, who is remotely comparable in terms of power. But we are about to fight Castile, so we may end up rivaling them. Power projection has already fallen a fair bit. But yeah, we're fine. Okay. Good to see that Burgundy is having problems. It looks like Austria is willing to join in. Let's not waste the opportunity. So we want the subjugation casus belli. You do have to be careful about picking the right casus belli when you attack. And I believe we should now be... let me just grab an admiral. Unfortunately, I've just allowed Scotland's navy to escape. Very foolish of me. Hopefully we won't regret that. Not that concerned about taking land from Scotland, all things considered. So we've just gained a new administrative technology, so we've been given a new national decision. Act of uniformity. Well, at least this one's not as bad as the last one. However, it's going to make institution embracement more expensive, so I think we should ditch it. Certainly in the moment, we don't need good missionaries. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure that France could take on both Castile and Brittany at the same time. They might be able to, but really we just need them to hold them off. Why has this place stopped moving? I didn't realise I hadn't sent them home. That's not good. That's the warning for your ships are about to die. Right, okay, and also having higher admin tech has allowed us to make more states than we could before. So generally you want to do this. There are situations in which you might not if you're going for world conquest, that's more of an advanced thing. Unfortunately we can't really finish the job because we've used our admin power to get a new admin tech. But we'll get there. Hopefully we won't be taking much in the way of land. I've just realised we should have fabricated a claim on Castile before starting the war. That was silly of me. Never mind. Maybe we won't worry about taking things from Castile this time. So often we even have anything in the same colonial area as them? No, we don't. So we can't really even try to claim these lands, I don't think. It doesn't really matter. Our big concern here is vassalising Brittany. So we will focus on that. So it looks like Scotland have lost control of the Isles, which are kind of an interesting area historically. They held out against Greater Scotland for quite a long time, basically because there is really treacherous seas. There are reefs everywhere, so basically only the locals knew how to sail there safely. No bridges, obviously. A lot of the areas still don't have bridges, and the ones which do, some of us consider that to have been a bit of a mistake. But yeah, I think at some point they finally managed to map the area out. Might even have been the English, not sure, but in any case the Isles eventually lost that advantage. But yeah, clearly in this particular timeline they're doing extremely well, because I think Scotland's usually subjugated them. They tend to start off as a vassal of Scotland actually. So it might be partly our fault for having weakened Scotland, the same as Scotland not taking these lands. Partly Brittany's fault though, because Brittany has weakened them more than we have. Okay, so this is good. So Austria's joined in. They've sent Castile running. So I think we've pretty much got it in the bag. We may actually not need troops down there at all, thanks to Austria. So with that in mind, I might just improve relations with Austria, even though they're really high already. Hungary. Is there anyone we want to be making claims on? Well, there is Navarra. So we presumably need Aragon to make claims on Navarre. Okay, lost a bit of prestige, not too worried, we're probably about to gain a load. Oh, that's nice. These lands are showing as being occupied by England. I wasn't sure if it shows France. It doesn't actually matter this time because we're not trying to take the lands, we're trying to vassalise the entire country. Anyway, I need to keep going at Scotland, although it's not that hard now, seeing as they don't have the Isles. We've only got the one castle. But yeah, it looks like our only contribution to this war will be taking Scotland down. Now where are you going? In theory you shouldn't be able to get past Dumfries. No, you can't. That's good. Excellent. So we had another uprising, which we can just ignore. Killed there. Alright, so this is temporary. So I might draft it. I'm sort of thinking the temporary ones. It's probably worth just getting the extra troops for now. Taken Lothian, which is brilliant. should have all of Scotland before you know it. Alright, so this is interesting. It's actually tied into the whole estate land. Basically, if we accept this, they gain some land, they gain some loyalty, but we also gain 2 base tax in the land we've given them. So it's generally worth doing, it's just risky. Like if you're not in a position to seize land, which we're not, and you're close to 30%, you might not want to do it, which will upset the burghers. But if you go below 30% crown land, which is the white bit, fully controlled by us, you tend to get some pretty nasty penalties. Italian engineer is expensive, but might be worth it because he's cheaper and he's a skill 2, which is what we're on. So I'm going to accept this petition. We've lost some crown land, but it should have made the... Ooh, Burgundy's rivaled us. That's good. Once the war's over, we should rival them back. They must have become more powerful so they can actually match us in some way. And hopefully move our ships round. I'm tempted not to even bother using the army. Might send the navy down there. Once we've finished off this area, this little navy here. Come on. No, I don't want the army, I want the navy. Tends to select the army for preference because they're usually more important. If we can get down here before the siege ends, we can be waiting for this navy, which doesn't even have any heavy ships at all. In fact, it doesn't really even have any military ships. The light ships should put up something of a fight. I don't really know why we're dicing up Brittany's ships when we're about to vassalise them, but I suppose everything helps with the war score. And the navy can use the practice, right? So we're going to sit in Lothian. So I'm not entirely sure how it's going to work. I guess we will vassalise Brittany and they will still have a personal union over Scotland. So we will ultimately control all of them. But it is a little unusual. Okay. Would it be worth taking some of these lands? I mean, we could. We might even be able to seize them if they're colonies. I hadn't actually thought of that. If they're still active colonies, you can sometimes take them over. Let's see if we can get a conquistador. So we've got a new issue, too many military leaders. Probably should actually get rid of one, so one of the generals. Because that basically gave us a 1 military power per month penalty. So this is a bit risky, because our colonial navy is of course tiny, as is our colonial army. But at the same time, I mean, Castile has one that's even smaller. Okay, Catherine of Aragon. A very big deal in English history. So we can make her an advisor, which is well worth having, or we can banish her to gain prestige. I think we want her as an advisor. In fact, I think we've got 2 cheaper advisors now. So she will make a good diplomatic advisor. And I believe we had been given a +2 cheaper, there we are, military advisor as well. That Italian engineer we hired. So we have 3 of them now. 3+2 advisor, which is brilliant because monarch points are always good. Whole game revolves around them. Now, is this actually making progress? It does say the next siege phase. Yeah, in fact they've just won. So I don't think we have enough war score to take Brittany yet. But Castile are basically... sorry, yeah, they're basically being hammered by Austria. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be long. Okay, brilliant. I'm going to follow you down and start harrying the coast of Castile. In fact, I might move here because it's blockading more ports, and I don't really care about utterly destroying the British Navy. Okay, so let's just check whether this is a colony. It would seem not. Fair enough. Oh, that's a colony though. Oh, that's good. So we can cover that then. So I'm just kind of hopping across here. That's assuming the war isn't over when we get here. But basically, if a colony's still in progress, and I think you take it in a war, you have the option to actually seize it for yourself. And given this is such a valuable area, it probably is worth doing. And you do it during the war, I think, so it's not even part of the final settlement. So obviously Castile isn't going to like it, but it's not like we attacked them, technically. We did attack their ally, to be fair. So which option is it? So we can burn the colony down. There we are, seize colony. So I would guess that we need to control the province, yeah, before we can seize it, which is fine. Can we get the next idea? We can. So this is that colonial range. Oh, we've got a new idea as well. Production efficiency. Exploration idea. Brilliant. Let's slow things down because I'm getting a few too many of these. So I'm going to seize the colony, not burn it. So that has now become our colony. The one problem we are going to have... That's not a colony, is it? We might even just keep our army there. It does mean now we're going to have to pay attention to uprisings. At least until I can get another colonial army ready. And we're also going to be paying over the odds. So you see one colony cost us around 2 ducats. Twice the price for 2 colonies because we've gone above our number of allowed colonists. But I think we can manage as England. We're rich enough to manage that. So yeah, that's not too bad. I'm wondering if we could actually get Castile to give us money. Which might deal with that treasury thing. I might improve relations with Portugal because we can't reach them yet. So while we will be in conflict with them, and yes, it's been on the time, I guess. Okay, so Castile are offering us money. Accept. So So we fulfilled build a treasury, which is great. Our next one is going to be build manufactories, which we do want to do as soon as we can. So let's just pause. So we're going to try to make peace with Brittany. Suggest demands gives us, they become a vassal of England and they pay some money as well. We may get another coalition, but let's give it a try. Ooh, hang on. Further investors. Okay, so this is going to cost us money. Oh, I see. So this is actually something you do get. I think we have this with Renaissance. It gives us more support in for colonialism. So go with that. But it does mean... So it does mean it started, but... we'd also probably charged us more the more money we had, so we really need to start building various buildings. So manufactories are very expensive, but let's just build a few because we have a mission for which we need 20. So yeah, sorry, just wanted to get that started before we got charged any more money for anything. We can make a claim on Navarre now. Can't make any other claims, so we may as well stop spying. We fulfilled another mission. Oh, acquire subjects. Yeah, this is one of the standard ones because we now have Brittany as a vassal. And we've also already created a Grand Fleet, which is fine. And that means we really need to improve relations with Brittany. Ah, Brittany has lost Scotland now. Interesting. Okay, I should move my army out of Scotland. So Scotland is now a free country again. We've ironically freed them. So we could try making friends. But realistically, we will probably end up just conquering them. On the plus side, them being free might mean they take some land from Norway again. Okay, so we're now up to our diplomatic limit. As we still have a royal marriage with Castile. I don't know if we want to ally Castile again. I think we're getting to the point where we possibly don't need them once we have Brittany. In theory, our aggressive expansion should be through the roof again, although Brittany's further away than France. 93, no, it is pretty bad. So we might want to calm things down for a while. But that's fine, because we are definitely into the colonising. We've still got lots of manpower, because Austria did most of our actual fighting for us. So let's build another colonial army. So at least we can stop worrying about uprisings. And our only big worry will be money. We probably actually have a mission for exploring the Caribbean. Oh, actually, do we want to risk having our colonial navy that far away? I just think we might be better off using our main navy to move this colonial army, because if we have an uprising down here, we're going to need to move this army across fast to put it down. So probably best to co-opt our main navy. Yep, no problem there. I imagine that was Scotland starting that, so they're probably going to take back the Isles. So you see, with all these options to just move armies across here, we're not really respecting the history of the Isles, which is why they do tend to get subjugated quite easily. In reality, not as easy as it looks, unless your army can walk on water. But as it is, I imagine Scotland will take them, which will make them more powerful again, which might be a good thing, because they will hopefully take some land from Norway. And we can just let things calm down while we normalise relations with Brittany, which is brilliant. Just thinking whether we should actually just stop things there. We are happy about that. We've got our first colony in the Caribbean, which is incredibly important because all the trade goes through there. Also made a conquistador in order to invade some of these lands, which means we've got them handy now. Quite a good one as well, 2 stars. So we should be able to make a colony actually there. It does make me wonder where Castile's doing their main colonising. But it doesn't really matter. Might be worth building a spy network though. Oh, also, we should be able to declare Brittany as a rival. Not Brittany, Burgundy. So that gives us 3 rivals, which is good, and also means if we do attack Burgundy next... Oh, I keep getting those confused. I suppose because they both start with a B. Which doesn't mean they have much in common, but it's enough to confuse me apparently. If we do end up attacking Burgundy, although I would imagine Munster is likely the next option, we will gain prestige for doing it, because they're our rival. I was thinking, having come this far, we may as well actually send these down. But yeah, that probably is more or less a good place to finish. But the expedition... Ooh! Free Carrick. Trade route to India. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's basically an equivalent of Christopher Columbus. Lights off from Castile. See, I'm not that keen. But at the same time, it might allow us to take Navarre. Maybe we should. Maybe we should. I'm sure we'll end up going to war with them anyway. And it's not like there isn't plenty of colonial territory for everyone anyway at the moment. Really clashing with them. Okay, so we're going to send our main navy down to bring an army down there. So although we're still getting charged a lot more, temporarily, we can stop worrying about uprisings again. So yeah, this is our first example of letting Castile do most of the work and then bullying them into giving us their colonies. In this case it wasn't already finished, but it has given us a little head start. Not much of a head start. I mean, they have a massive head start, but we'll be fine. I think that all looks pretty good. I'm wondering if we should start spying on Munster, and then I actually am going to call this a day. Yeah, we don't already have claims. So let's start a spy network. And apparently the Isles are doing really well. Okay, maybe we will end up conquering the Isles instead. Interesting. Munster's helping, which I guess is useful for us because they'll be using up manpower. Still, guess that's a worry for another time. Our main concern at the moment is not getting a coalition against us again. So far, no one seems to have joined a coalition, so hopefully we're going to be fine. And getting Brittany to the point where they actually like us, which is good. It's kind of what I like doing as England, is if you can, rather than having allies as such, you have lots of vassals. So it kind of makes you powerful enough in your own right, so you don't need to worry about allies dragging you into other wars. but it's probably not entirely safe. We probably do want at least one powerful ally. I suppose at the moment that's going to be Austria, but it's whether they become an issue with us trying to expand eastwards. We'll have to see. Might want to eye Poland up. Poland is usually running Lithuania, so that entire area is one country, so they're actually very powerful. They might form into the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth at some point, but without the Commonwealth's disadvantages in the real world, so they'll be very powerful. But we'll see how things go. Basically, we want allies that aren't into colonising, because colonial powers, Castile and Portugal especially, France as would have been, and Holland, Norway, Denmark, they are all into colonising, and we basically want to take the entire area if we can, or as much of it as we can manage. So alliances with colonial powers are always going to be a bit short-lived. But we'll see, because at the moment Castile, I think, are still rivaling Aragon, which is unusual. They normally end up joining together at some point, so maybe we can at least take Navarre, like get an attack on Aragon out of it. Doesn't really benefit Castile even if we take land from Aragon, as they'll probably end up joining together anyway, whereas it will benefit us even if we only take Navarre. It's something. It's a chunk of Aragonese land for us. Maybe we could even get them to cede something to France, you never know. Anyway, I will leave it there. But yeah, very happy with how that went. We have Brittany. Turns out we didn't get Scotland into the bargain, they seceded. But that is fine, might even allow either them or the Isles to make some headway on Norway without us. You never know. Or failing that, we can just take them later. But yeah, very happy to get an additional colony. Very happy that we haven't been locked out of the Caribbean, of our Sea Castiles making a start on that. So they've taken arguably the best province. But primarily, I mean really we only needed one, but yeah, might try and get more. Might try and get an actual colonial nation, especially because we've got a head start. I wasn't expecting to have this colony at all, but we will see how it goes. We need to explore the area as well. In fact, now they're down there, we don't need these ships to move troops across, so we can start exploring all around here, and we'll see where everyone else is colonising and just make sure we don't cut us off. Louisiana, as we will examine, is an easy place to get cut out from, so which is why we need this map. But that's all for next time. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you then.